What's happening? The project of the week is a level 3 helmet from Pubg. One of the cool things I really loved about this project was how I incorporated a hinge system and it actually worked. I also tried a new way of weathering, which I was very excited about. But with all that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, what we have right here, little zaddies, is what the helmet looks like after it's done being printed. The stuff that I'm popping off right now is what's called support. A lot of these parts on the helmet can't be printed out without the aid of the support. If I were to opt out and not use any of it, parts of the helmet will come out looking very stringy. All this extra support that was too stubborn to come off can be easily sanded out with a 120 grit. Moving on to the visor. I printed this one upside down due to the fact that it used less support. Once everything was off and sanded a bit, I applied the Bondo and started the post-print process. I go through a lot of different gloves on this step all the time. The Bondo hardens pretty fast, so the glove will end up getting a hole in it sooner or later. Setting that off to the side, I started applying Bondo to the helmet. Once both the helmet and the visor were done and dry, I used the 180 grit and I proceeded to sand. You see, what the Bondo does is it fills in those lines that can be shown when you first take off the print from the build plate. The way a 3D printer works is printing layer by layer till you get your full size print. That layer by layer is what creates those layer lines that I use the Bondo to fill in. To sum it all up, I do so much layer filling to all my helmets and props to get them as smooth as it can be. Once both parts were sanded, I moved on to the next step by filler priming them. On to the second part of sanding. I used a 220 grit and sanded the entire helmet. This grit is pretty high for the filler primer, which is great, but even better, it doesn't kick up too much sanding dust compared to the Bondo. The camera doesn't really pick it up too well, but at this point the filler primer is very smooth. The last part of the sanding process is going to be the wet sanding. You see, little zaddies, the wet sanding is pretty much going to bring your print to the smoothest surface possible. All this is to prep the helmet for the paint job that's to come. I took a new approach to the weathering aspect on this project. I used the Rust-Oleum Mirror Chrome spray paint as the base coat for both the helmet and the visor. The chrome dried up after a couple hours, so I continued on and sprayed a coat of satin black. Now, just before the spray paint dries, I take a rolled up piece of tape and I dab it around both parts. This is going to give off like a chipped looking kind of weathering effect to it. I wanted this helmet to look like it's been through a lot of battles, not only being shot at, but all the other grimy stuff like crawling through the dirt or getting dinked up against the wall. It was very easy to get carried away with this method, but I knew if I did too much, it was an easy fix just by reapplying the black spray paint. Before I continued weathering, I used some sanding paper and lightly went around all the edges. Then going forward, I covered those edges up with some chrome I spray painted on a brush. I brushed around the helmet, making sure not to overdo it. This is another one of those steps that you can easily go overboard with. With the weathering process out of the way, it was time to attach both helmet and visor. Using super glue, I bonded both hinge pieces that go on the inside of the helmet. Once both were successfully bonded, I snapped the visor into place. Now that I had the visor on, I worked my way into placing the tinted face shield in the eye window. Getting the right shape to fit inside the window was a bit of a hassle, but I took my time with it and cut the face shield little by little to make it fit. I hot glued the face shield on the inside, but I wanted to make sure it wouldn't pop off, so I added some hot glue on the outside. I chipped away at the paint job by mistake while I was fitting the face shield in, so I covered it up with bronze paint. I then decided to go around the whole helmet with the bronze. What this will do is add a rusted weathered effect to the helmet. When I was editing this part of the video, I realized I didn't record the part where I was putting the foam pieces on the inside of the helmet, but that's okay. I just moved on to putting on the chin strap. The ends of each strap had Velcro, so I had to add the opposite side on the inside of the helmet. I used Gorilla Epoxy on this step. I had done this technique for my Mandalorian armor, so I knew once the Velcro stayed in place, it would stay in place once dried. Blooper. Fun fact, babies, Most of my videos are scripted and I have them all on my tablet and I read off it sometimes, so that's why I kind of sound robotic. And yeah, I'm trying to get the flow, you know, this is kind of, you know, off the top of the head, you know, I can't rhyme. Once it was all dried, I added the foam pieces back on the inside of the helmet. What these foam pieces do is just make sure the foam pieces are secure to the user's head. And the last part of this project is just to use isopropyl alcohol and clean up the face shield from all the dirt. And there you have it! A level 3 helmet from Pubg. Winner chicken dinner. It's always been nice to learn new things on every project, and I feel like it always makes me better. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a good motherfucking day. Peace.